pointed out, the ED is seeking a 7-day custody, but the big update that's coming in at this hour is that the court, in fact, has reserved the remand order. Till when it's been reserved, we'll try and get those details. Our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar, now joining us on the broadcast. Ananya, before we get talking about the arguments that were made by the legal counsel of Manish Sisodia, the order as of now has been reserved. What are the details that you're picking up?
Well, 7 days of ED remand has been sought by the Enforcement Directorate in this particular case. They've said in the remand note also and in the arguments as well that a certain crucial information has emerged out from the 7 days of interrogation. Though there was a charge by Manish Sisodia's counsel that he was not being interrogated properly, he was not being interrogated for, and the time was not being utilized for longest time. In fact, Manish Sisodia to address the court saying, in fact, that he was interrogated for certain hours and then a break was taken by the agency officers. But the court has taken all of those submissions, the note of all of those submissions. But at the same point of time, the Enforcement Directorate has pointed out that certain phones were destroyed, and you've seen how the Enforcement Directorate actually pointed out that lakhs of mails have been, there has been a dump of lakhs of mail that Manish Sisodia has to be confronted with. Apart from that, what has also been stated is that he destroyed the a phone that he was using for almost 8 to 9 months, and the timing of that destruction of that phone was very, very similar to when the LG had actually forwarded the complaint to the Central Bureau of Investigation to investigate into the liquor policy scam. And the ED counsel stressed as to how was the timing of this very, very similar. Apart from that, what has also emerged out is that the magically, a 5% of profit margin changed to 12%, and it is revealed from a document which dates to the same time.
But Ananya, when the agency says that the profit margin was increased from 5 to 12%, there were kickbacks to the tune of hundreds of crores. The argument that's coming in from the legal counsel of Manish Sisodia is that all this has already been proved by other agencies like the CBI, but nothing really has come out, because their point is that the proceeds of crime actually need to be shown, how they were connected to Manish Sisodia. Until that time, all of this is just allegations. So the agency will have to put out solid proof if they want to build their case against Manish Sisodia. So what is that crucial proof that they're working with?
Well, at this point of time, the investigation is underway, and as Zoeb Hussain, who is appearing for the Enforcement Directorate, also pointed out that all the information cannot be divulged at this point of time because the investigation might get hampered with, and that's the reason why, in fact, a very, very categorical answer that was given out by the Enforcement Directorate answering this particular query of Manish Sisodia's counsel, that where is the single penny, to which the response that the Enforcement Directorate gave was that the difference between the profit margins of 5 to 12% and the 6% kickbacks that were going to the Aam Aadmi Party leaders is something that is the proceeds of crime, and the money trail of which is being tracked by the agency. That's the reason why they want to confront Manish Sisodia with the then Excise Commissioner, Mr. Rahul Singh, Dinesh Arora, Amit Arora, and also, one other accused, C. Arvind, who's also one of the deputy commissioners at that point of time. So somewhere or the other, it is something very, very crucial that the agency is saying that it has, and in fact, the remand note 2, which we have managed to access at CNN News 18, clearly points out that there is something crucial that has emerged out from this particular investigation that has been carried out for the 7 days, and the interrogation, the detailed interrogation of Manish Sisodia for the last 7 days. So what happens next, whether the court would grant a remand or not, that is something for the, we'll get answers in a short while from now when the court actually pronounces its order. But at the same point of time, the Enforcement Directorate trying to put forth a watertight case, Manish Sisodia's counsel trying to oppose it as hard as they can.
True.
But what happens to the final outcome is something that we'll get to know in a short while from now.
Right. Ananya, we'll just request you to stay on with us because that order has been reserved. So we'll really have to see which way the court goes. Our colleague Anshul is also now joining us on the broadcast. Anshul, as Ananya was rightly pointing out, the only argument that the legal counsel of Manish Sisodia right now want to focus on is what is the direct proof and evidence that the agencies have to connect Manish Sisodia, the former Deputy Chief Minister of the National Capital, to this alleged liquor gate scam. And they're saying the same probe was done by the CBI, nothing came out, and now the ED, in their terminology, is only wasting time because this is just vendetta politics. What are the reactions that we are seeing by the Aam Aadmi Party today?
Well, yes, the Aam Aadmi Party has since day one clearly stated that this entire investigation that is taking place is done out of political vendetta, and they have clearly maintained that Manish Sisodia has nothing to do with the liquor policy. However, clear answers have not come in from the Aam Aadmi Party as to why was the profit margin increased from 5% to 12%, and if at all any sort of kickbacks were given to them, and how were the kickbacks received by them. So the accusations that have been made by both CBI and ED, the Aam Aadmi Party has not made any clear, has not taken any clear stance on them. They have not come out and clarified about the nitty-gritties of the policy and how did certain people get their hands on the draft of the policy when that policy was not made public. So all these accusations that have been made by the CBI and ED, the Aam Aadmi Party has not responded to those allegations. They have maintained a very clear line that this is being done because Aam Aadmi Party is gaining popularity and Aam Aadmi Party is the next big thing after the BJP, and hence the BJP government is scared of the Aam Aadmi Party, and hence they are trying to tarnish their image of being a Qatar Imandar party. So yes, this political war of words is continuously going on between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. But yes, the kind of arguments that broke out in the court today, and that is also very, very interesting, because the lawyers of Manish Sisodia in a way or in a manner have clearly tried to indicate that Manish Sisodia is actually being harassed inside the custody of the Enforcement Directorate. In fact, Manish Sisodia himself said that he is interrogated only in the second half, and there are breaks that are taken very frequently, and the interrogation does not happen in one go. So all these accusations have been made against the Enforcement Directorate and the investigating officer. But yes, it remains to be seen how does the court look at these arguments, because yes, the manner in which the interrogation is done is the prerogative of the investigating officer. So yes, it remains to be seen if at all the court will entertain these arguments. But yes, today's arguments of Manish Sisodia lawyers were actually based on how Enforcement Director is trying to waste the time of Manish Sisodia so that he could stay in jail for a longer period of time.
Yeah, Anshul, we'll just request you to stay on with us. And Ananya was also pointing out earlier, we here at CNN News 18 in fact have accessed certain parts of that remand note of the Enforcement Directorate, and this becomes crucial because that remand note is saying that crucial information in fact has emerged out of the interrogation of Manish Sisodia. Following emergence of crucial information, they feel that Sisodia now needs to be confronted with the other accused as well. So Ananya, even though the Enforcement Directorate is saying that they feel they're on the right track and that's why they want an extension of custody, because the other accused also need to be brought face to face with Manish Sisodia, the legal counsel of Manish Sisodia is saying, one, this line of questioning has already been done by the CBI, so if nothing came out then, how are you hopeful that something will come out now? That's one. The second is they're also questioning the intent of the agencies themselves, because the legal counsel is saying that just about 11 hours of questioning happened in a period of 7 days, which means that this is just a witch hunt and nothing else. So the pressure will also be on the agencies to actually bring out enough proof or to actually show that more evidence has come to light if they want to sustain the custody of Manish Sisodia.
Well, definitely, that's exactly right, Ridhima, but the Enforcement Directorate too had an answer to this 11 hours of questioning argument of Manish Sisodia. They said that they have a clear CCTV footage wherein it shows that Manish Sisodia was interrogated for good long 4 to 5 hours each day, and in fact on the last day, that is yesterday, almost 6 hours of interrogation took place from Manish Sisodia, though Manish Sisodia addressed the court himself saying that he's interrogated for an hour and then a break was taken, but that it was pointed out that these breaks were taken for medical and food. So that is something that is very, very necessary, and the judge also felt it and he made an observation about that. But what happens to and how well would the agency justify its case is something that would be very, very clear from the order copy and also from the orders that come out from the court, whether or not the custody of 7 days is granted or some lesser days are granted to the Enforcement Directorate to twist Manish Sisodia is something that is we have to see, and we'll have to wait for the court to pronounce in its verdict. But at the same point of time, the Enforcement Directorate, as we see, is gripping its arm in this particular investigation, not only with regards to Manish Sisodia, but we have seen how people from the South Group are also being confronted with, people from the South Group are being interrogated. K. Kavita has been issued summons for the 20th of March. So what happens next, and how would this investigation proceed? Because remember that it's already been 14 days, it's almost about 7 to 8 days since he was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate, and the Enforcement Directorate too has a timeline of 60 days to file this particular charge sheet. So somewhere or the other, it has certain kind of a pressure because it has to track down the money trail, it has to track down how this whole chain of events happened.